Hello everyone, I'm John Heathcote and I'm reporting on some practical independent planning work that we did with postgraduates, Emily, Jessica, Eric, Tom and Tom, looking at project planning utility and practice. We adopted a critical incident technique approach. That's because these projects that came to us were selected for intervention at the request of the actual real-life project teams, a university assistant, to resolve the issues that they thought were planning related. So we had to come up with a solution, and we did that by we had to do that quickly because these projects were real and in progress. And we call that approach independent planning, for want of a better name. We use critical incident technique that involves establishing the facts, deciding what to do, and then evaluating that. Okay, so here's our starting point. Let's just break that down a little bit more. We felt that there was an over-reliance on the accuracy of plan. We knew this to be a general problem in project management. People over-rely on deterministic planning. The plans weren't complete and outlined, there was no dependency linking, it was impossible to explain what was happening from the jargon that was included. Things that might have been addressed by the NEC 3 clause 32 shared scheduling clause were just not possible. So we established some early attributions as to why we thought that was the case. Largely this is to do with the desire of contractors not to reveal their performance to plan schedule, but it's also the case for the client team as well, who felt exposed by the project plan. There was also an incomplete scope of work. It's going to change. The planning skills were not available. Sometimes the planning software was not available, all of which contributed towards a driver for not doing planning properly. There was performance monitoring consequences of that, had an impact on when you could and couldn't submit invoices, which might be particularly important. And all of this led to I and J points down here, which was no proactive identification of risks and no proactive mitigation of those issues. That led to a reactive kind of approach to management on site, which we can observe to be normal, typical. When we talked to people about it, we had to unpick that from their narrative. They largely saw it down to relationships and behavioural criticisms. So what did we do? We identified dependency risks, rebuilt those plans, identified opportunities to reduce those risks. So we didn't just build a plan, we also analysed it. So we call that a model, really. So here's an example. In this detail, we pick out the detail. Postgraduates are able to say, what if we don't do something about that, and there's a risk, known risk there, what's the consequences? And here we can see it modelled, and then we can decide, we can see the consequence of that and decide to do something about it. Similarly, here postgraduate researchers said, if we can do something about some of these dependency tasks here and bring some of that forward, then what we can do is create greater flexibility in the plan and speed the programme up. So obviously that involves cooperation with people and consultation, but they did that quite a lot and quite successfully. So the anticipated benefits were that we'd identify the risks in interdependency task and communicate that. Without a logic link plan, this complexity couldn't be revealed. Yeah. So that enormously equipped our otherwise green postgraduates to really take command of the situation, develop a better sequencing of works and promote that, remove bottlenecks and task dependency risks, and forewarn the client about consequences to delays that they might otherwise cause, which in itself reduced the possibility of claims for delay and therefore conflict around the contractual activity. And it was partly successful in that it was very successful. Look at point 3, which was the work that the postgrads did was really highly valued. But if we go back to point 1, the contractors often asked for the plans to be, a second plan to be made, which didn't include all the details. So there was a requirement for less transparency. That's an interesting thing. That revealed that there was always a nervousness about what an independent plan might reveal, and it actually demonstrates the political nature of information in an adversarial contract environment, is what we're saying. Yeah. So in 2 of the cases, after the initial success, as soon as the project was out of the woods, as it were, the proactive site coordination management was rejected in a return to a more reactive site management that slowed progress down. What did that mean? That meant that we could demonstrate proactive planning benefits from a probabilistic scenario modelling approach, which is what we were doing. But those benefits were trumped by contractual interests, seeing planning transparency as risky and the risk aversion, which was prioritised over other optimisation. So whatever we do next, we have to think about ways to make that independent planning genuine risk-free team working. Thank you very much.